What's up everybody, welcome back to Make Wick Crafts, and today we're going to be making the Finch front porch from the play To Kill A Mockingbird. We're going to start our base with some XPS foam, and then we're going to be covering that XPS foam with some popsicle sticks of various widths to make up the boards of the porch. Before we begin assembling our porch, however, first we're going to need to carve out a little section underneath to store the battery housing for our porch light later on. Once that is finished up, we're going to go ahead and begin clipping off the ends of our popsicle sticks to give us some nice squared out ends. They aren't exact because if you're familiar with the story of To Kill A Mockingbird, this does take place in Depression era Alabama. Unfortunately, very early on in this build, I at some point forgot that I was working with foam and Hulk smashed the base of my porch right in two. Thankfully though, that's nothing that a few extra pieces of popsicle sticks and hot glue can't fix, so we'll be hiding that underneath our porch. While I'm finishing assembling the porch, we'll give a little bit of backstory as to the reason behind this build. Those that know me in real life know that I've been doing theater for about 20 years, and my theater company recently staged a production of the show To Kill A Mockingbird. If you're familiar with that show, you know that much of the action revolves around three young children, which can often be a difficult set of roles to fill. Fortunately for us, particularly when it comes to the role of Scout, we were very fortunate in that our director's young daughter in her very first show was more than capable of handling this size of role. I had considered getting some footage to add to the video of me handing the diorama off to her, but she is a very young child and this is the internet, so that will not be a thing that is happening. But kiddo, if you do end up watching this video, I meant everything I said at the theater. You have absolutely killed it, and don't let anybody tell you any different. We all could not be more proud of you. Now that our porch is complete, it's time to set that aside and start working on our backing for the house. I decided to do the backing out of cardboard since we're going to just be sticking a bunch of popsicle sticks to it, and that'll give it a nice sturdy base strong enough to hold up. And now comes the very long and tedious portion where we have to square off a bunch of our popsicle sticks and start measuring them out to piece by piece lay them onto our backing. Luckily for me, I had learned a bunch of handy editing tricks which turned this couple-hour endeavor into something that could take place in just under 2 minutes. Once the wall was completed and secured to our porch base, I decided to give it a coat of black primer because I am a very silly goose who often gets ahead of himself even though the rest of the build is not complete. I had intended to use these 1/12 scale dollhouse banisters for our porch, but as you can see they were much too large, so I decided that just their heads would be needed. After sanding them all down and getting them somewhat relatively level, I again decided to be a silly goose and go ahead and secure them all down without putting on the railings. Fortunately for me, all of these materials are very sturdy, so the banisters were able to withhold me removing them only to secure them once again. Once my porch posts were in place, it was time to build the steps that our young mini Scout was going to be sitting on for our diorama. For a little bit of context, the image that I'm making in this diorama is actually the opening image of Scout in our production of the show, so I thought it would be a nice little special gift to give someone who had absolutely done a great job on their first production. This was not a small production by any means, so having anyone undertake this would be a massive job, but to have someone who is very, very young take over this job is nothing short of impressive. Once our stairs were done, it was then time to go ahead and put in our railings by chopping up some more of our extra wide popsicle sticks. Now that the full porch has been assembled, it's time to drill our pilot hole and begin to run our lights. Once the lights were run, I had to do a little bit of minor cosmetic surgery to our young Scout miniature to make sure that she was able to sit properly on our steps. I do not recommend cosmetic surgery in real life for young children, but fortunately this one is made out of plastic instead of flesh and blood, so I think we're in the clear. To resculpt the Scout miniature to make her look like our young actress, I decided to chop her up a little bit and reapply all of her pieces using green stuff. Yes, that is the brand name. It is simply a putty that you do 1-to-1 piecings of, and it becomes a nice little green putty that you can work with to recast your miniatures and will cure in just about 24 hours. Since the green stuff is going to take 24 hours to cure, while that sits and waits, now we are going to go ahead and start soldering together our lights. Remember that whenever you're soldering together, always do this in a very well ventilated room and always be sure to wear a respirator. After we've soldered the wires together, I'm going to go ahead and cover the connections with some black electrical tape. That way we can make sure nothing overheats and catches fire. And then we're going to cover up all our wires with a bit of black costuming foam secured onto the back with some hot glue. Once the backing was secured and trimmed up, it's now time to go ahead and begin our paint job. I decided to start with a raw umber base and then slowly start putting on lighter and lighter shades of brown. That way we can go ahead and get a nice weathered, distressed look while also getting a little bit of sun damage and light on there. I then started applying thin layers of white to the wall of the house. The thin layers help for the black primer to poke through, which really helps give a dirty and distressed look, which is very appropriate for the time. Once our wall was painted, I decided to give a sepia wash to our door to give it a nice grungy look. Once the painting on the porch was complete, it was time to go ahead and paint our young scout. We're going to start with a little bit of blue for the overalls and add a little touch of electric blue to give her a lighter shade onto her shirt. We're then going to mix up a little yellow with just a touch of the oak brown to give a nice dirty blonde look. Once Scout was complete, it was time to secure her to her base, and then it was time for shaky cam. Thank you everyone for watching. I am going to be trying to do more consistent video uploads. Unfortunately, this past month has been a very busy one, so I've only been able to pump out the second video 3 weeks after my initial one. My intended goal, though, is to go ahead and have 2 videos uploaded per month, essentially 1 every 2 weeks. We will see if life lets that happen. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button if you'd like to see any of the future dioramas I have coming out, and we will see you on the next one.